Imagine a land where there were almost no laws, a place where fortunes could be made overnight, or stolen just as quickly, where sheriffs, outlaws, bounty hunters, native warriors, gamblers, and cowboys all fought to survive beneath an endless western sky. This was the American Wild West. For decades, it symbolized freedom, danger, adventure, and opportunity. Entire towns appeared almost overnight after gold was discovered. Railroads stretched farther west every year. Cowboys drove millions of cattle across vast open plains. Gunfights became legends. Outlaws became myths. But behind every famous story was a much harsher reality. Violence was common. Life was unforgiving. Thousands lost everything chasing impossible dreams. And just as suddenly as it had risen, the Wild West slowly disappeared. So, how did this legendary frontier begin? Why did millions risk everything to move west? Who truly ruled the frontier? And what finally brought the Wild West to an end? This is the complete story of the rise and fall of the American Wild West. Long before cowboys rode across the plains, before saloons echoed with piano music, before dusty towns filled with fortune seekers, the American West belonged to hundreds of Native American nations. For thousands of years, tribes such as the Lakota, Cheyenne, Apache, Comanche, Navajo, Crow, and many others had developed unique cultures perfectly adapted to the land. Some hunted buffalo across endless grasslands. Others built farming communities. Some became expert horse riders after horses arrived from Spanish explorers during the 1500s. These nations traded, fought wars, formed alliances, and lived across millions of square miles. Then came European exploration. Spain claimed vast territories. Britain established colonies along the Atlantic coast. For centuries, most of the western frontier remained largely unknown to European settlers. That would soon change forever. In 1803, everything changed. The United States purchased over 800,000 square miles of land from France. Known as the Louisiana Purchase, it nearly doubled the size of the young nation. Suddenly, an enormous frontier lay open. President Thomas Jefferson wanted to know what existed beyond the Mississippi River. He sent Meriwether Lewis and William Clark on one of history's greatest expeditions. For over 2 years, they mapped rivers, mountains, wildlife, and native nations. Their reports revealed land richer and larger than anyone imagined. Soon, thousands of settlers packed their belongings into wagons. Families crossed dangerous trails toward Oregon, California, and Texas. Many never arrived. Disease, starvation, accidents, harsh winters, and difficult river crossings claimed many lives. But hope pushed them forward. They believed the frontier offered something impossible to find in the crowded East. A new beginning. Then, gold changed everything. In 1848, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in California. News spread around the world. Within months, hundreds of thousands of people rushed west. Americans, Mexicans, Chinese workers, Europeans, South Americans. Everyone dreamed of becoming rich. Entire cities appeared almost overnight. San Francisco exploded from a tiny settlement into a booming city. Mining camps became towns. Towns became cities. Stores, banks, hotels, saloons. The frontier transformed almost instantly. But very few became wealthy. Most miners found little or nothing. Instead, merchants often made far more money selling tools, food, clothing, and supplies. Still, the dream of striking gold never died. New discoveries in Colorado, Nevada, Montana, and the Black Hills triggered even more gold rushes. The Wild West had officially begun. As mining expanded, another legend emerged. The cowboy. After the Civil War, millions of cattle roamed Texas. Demand for beef was growing rapidly in eastern cities. Cowboys spent months driving enormous herds north across hundreds of miles. They faced violent storms, flooded rivers, stampedes, extreme heat, freezing nights, hostile encounters. The work was exhausting. Most cowboys earned modest wages. Many were African American, Mexican vaqueros, or immigrants, far more diverse than later Hollywood films suggested. Their skills became legendary. They mastered ropes, horses, navigation, and survival. Cattle trails such as the Chisholm Trail turned unknown riders into frontier legends. Cowboys became symbols of courage and independence. Yet their era would last only a few decades. The frontier had opportunity, but it also had crime. Banks were robbed. Stagecoaches attacked. Trains became targets. Cattle thieves operated across the plains. Some outlaws became famous across America. Names like Billy the Kid, Jesse James, Butch Cassidy, and the Sundance Kid entered history. Some became folk heroes. Others were ruthless criminals. Standing against them were lawmen, sheriffs, marshals, Texas Rangers. Some became legends themselves. Figures like Wyatt Earp and Wild Bill Hickok gained fame through deadly gunfights. Yet contrary to popular belief, many Western towns were quieter than Eastern cities. The famous shootouts Hollywood loves were actually quite rare. Most communities wanted peace. Businesses could not survive constant violence. The real West was less about endless gunfights and more about building stable communities. The greatest force that transformed the Wild West wasn't a gun. It was the railroad. In 1869, the first transcontinental railroad connected America's east and west coasts. Travel that once took months now required only days. Goods moved faster. Families traveled safely. Businesses expanded. Railroads brought settlers in massive numbers. Small frontier towns became permanent cities. Barbed wire divided the once open range. Farmers fenced their land. Large cattle drives became increasingly difficult. The age of the open frontier was beginning to disappear. The Wild West lasted only a few decades, but its legacy has lasted for generations. It helped shape the United States, inspired countless stories, and became one of history's most recognizable eras. The frontier may have disappeared, but the legend of the Wild West never truly ended. By the late 1800s, the frontier had changed beyond recognition. The buffalo herds that once numbered in the tens of millions had been nearly wiped out. Many Native American nations had been forced onto reservations after years of conflict, broken treaties, and military campaigns. Railroads crossed the continent. Telegraph wires carried messages instantly. Schools, banks, churches, and courthouses replaced rough frontier camps. The famous cowboy cattle drives became rare. Mining towns emptied after the gold ran out. Many became ghost towns, their wooden buildings left to decay beneath the desert sun. In 1890, the U.S. Census Bureau declared that the American frontier was no longer a distinct line of unsettled land. To many historians, this marked the symbolic end of the Wild West. Yet the legend refused to die. Wild West shows traveled the world. Dime novels turned outlaws into heroes. Later, Hollywood transformed the frontier into one of the most enduring myths in popular culture. Today, the Wild West lives on in films, books, museums, national parks, preserved ghost towns, and the imagination of millions. It remains a story of ambition and hardship, freedom and conflict, opportunity and loss, a chapter of American history that continues to fascinate people around the world. The Wild West lasted only a few decades, but its legacy has lasted for generations. It helped shape the United States, inspired countless stories, and became one of history's most recognizable eras. The frontier may have disappeared, but the legend of the Wild West never truly ended.